with another episode of Always Talking Ball with yours truly, Drew and Ethan.
Let's go.
Obviously this is a recap episode. It's been a week since the games we have predicted.
Mm-hmm.
Last in the bowl game we decided to choose is Florida and Tulane.
Yeah, and Florida Florida pretty much dominated. Offensively, they had 529 total yards of offense. Tulane only had 194. Passing, Florida also dominated with 305. And Tulane, well, they only had 125, so that's not going to cut it.
Oh, yeah.
And then rushing, Florida had 224 rushing yards, and Tulane had 69. And
69.
yeah, and Florida had 6.7 yards per play, while Tulane had 3.4 yards per play. So, and the final score was 33-8, which it could have been way worse.
Yeah.
But
DJ Lagway threw 3 interceptions in that game. And Tulane just had a lot of opt-outs in general.
Yeah. Well, and I think Tulane had like their 4th-string quarterback playing, which
is not a favorable situation for them at all.
Which, no disrespect to him, but it's just too much.
8 points, at least they scored.
Yeah, but
all for pride at that point.
But how about Billy Napier?
Yeah, he's sort of turned the season around, hasn't he?
Yeah. They were like 2-5 to start the year, and then they won like 5 or 6 in a row.
Yeah, once they threw Lagway in there, he sort of gave him a spark.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wonder what the quarterback situation is going to be with Graham Mertz. Maybe he I don't know. Well, I don't know if he would transfer, but
maybe he just mentors the young guy.
Yeah.
Sort of. Yeah. Ups his career another level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then so that was one of the playoff games that we predicted or chose. So then team stats. So how about Notre Dame versus Indiana?
Not as close as I thought it was going to be.
No.
I just thought it was going to be Notre Dame. When it came to the very beginning of the game, I thought Notre Dame was going to dominate from the get-go, but Indiana made it respectable near the end.
Yeah, I mean, other than Indiana scoring 17 points, they really scored that 17 with like maybe a minute to go in the entire game. And it really they really didn't have any offensive rhythm or anything like that.
They did get an onside kick though, so that's fun to see.
Yeah. So the stats for the two. So Notre Dame had 394 of total yards of offense. Indiana had 278, which isn't bad. Passing yards, Indiana actually had more. They had 215 to 201. Notre Dame owned the rushing game. They rushed for 193 yards, and Notre Dame rushed for 63 yards. And then Indiana had 4.6 yards per play, and Notre Dame had 5.9 yards per play. So, I mean,
the efficiency from running back Jeremiah Love was something very interesting to see.
Yeah.
Like 10 carries, 120, 130 yards, a couple touchdowns in that game.
Well, he had a 98-yard rushing touchdown from his own end zone.
That was just Indiana folding under the bright lights there at touchdown Jesus, like he said.
Yeah, he definitely had his hand on the Irish on that one. But and I mean, Indiana had never been on that big of a stage in I don't know how many years.
Well, we'll see how they do next year.
Yeah.
Especially with getting one of the top transfer quarterbacks in the portal, Fernando Mendoza.
Yeah. Yeah. And then for Notre Dame, we'll see how they do against Georgia.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Interesting.
We'll see.
The next game in that order was SMU and Penn State.
SMU and Penn State. Yeah. So I chose SMU to pull the upset, but they let me down a little bit. They didn't really.
Kevin Jennings threw 2 pick sixes in that game.
Yeah.
Unforced mistakes by SMU.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Penn State's defense, I mean, like you said, Penn State's defense kind of owned them a little. They couldn't really do anything.
And I thought SMU was driving the ball a little.
Yeah, they were driving the ball. They just couldn't finish. They couldn't finish drives.
I thought they had a decent chance with the way their offense was playing, but the interceptions just killed them in the end.
Yeah. Yeah. Penn State had 325 yards of offense. So if you're going to win a playoff game, you're probably not going to win if you give up almost 400 yards of offense. And then compared to SMU's 253, which only got them 10 points out of it, that's not going to do.
It's not going to cut it,
no.
Especially with you hanging 31 points on Clemson.
Now, SMU did have more passing yards than Penn State. They had 195.
Yeah.
Compared to 136.
That's something I probably expected from that Penn State team, just because that's just their offense. They're more efficiency-based passing offense.
Yeah.
They throw it a lot to the tight end in the red zone.
Yeah.
That's why they've had so many tight ends go to the league. Pat Freiermuth and now Tyler Warren.
Yeah. Well, they've always been kind of like a big tight end school because they're kind of like Iowa, where they come out with big tight ends like George Kittle or whatever, Travis Kelce. I don't think
Travis Kelce went to Cincinnati.
Yeah. But and then Penn State was able to run the football really well. I mean, they basically rushed for almost 200 yards compared to 58, which when you ground and pound on the run game, you're gonna wear down their defense.
Yeah, Nick Singleton really dominated that game.
Yeah, and then Penn State averaged 5 yards a play, and SMU averaged 3.5 yards a play. So, yeah, it was pretty much Penn State's day.
Yeah,
overall.
Penn State just completely dominated that game. Yeah. Played the home environment really well. They took care of business as they should.
Yeah. Well, and I heard on TV that they were talking about SMU's schedule and whatnot, and should they really been in the playoffs? I mean, I still think they should have been in over Alabama. That's just my opinion. They
played better throughout the entire season
than they played that game.
You're supposed to play your schedule.
Yeah.
And Alabama did not play their schedule the best. They lost 3 games. They lost to mediocre teams, nonetheless. They may have beat good teams. They may have beat Georgia. They may have beat all these other good teams. But when it comes to performing against the teams they're supposed to perform against, they lost to a 6-6 Vanderbilt team.
Yeah. So, but hey, SMU had probably one of their best seasons they've had since the 1980s.
Yeah,
even though when NIL wasn't a thing.
And something I've seen on an article, NIL stands for now it's legal.
Pretty much. Yeah. Sorry, NCAA, but
now it's legal.
He's right. He's right on that.
Unfortunately, and yeah, that's why there's thousands of people in the transfer portal.
Yeah, literally. Well, how did you think the lopsidedness of the Ohio State-Tennessee game was really going to be that bad for Tennessee?
I did not think so.
That was crazy.
The freshman folded under pressure. Even though he had a great game running the ball, Nico did.
Well, he claims that they were used to the cold weather up at the Horseshoe in Ohio State, but 42-17 doesn't necessarily sound like they were ready.
No, it sounds like you're used to that cold weather there.
Yeah. Well, Ohio State, Jeremiah Smith, Will Howard, and Ibuka, Trayvon Henderson, and Judkins, they all had a big night.
Yeah, Will Howard sort of proved me wrong. I called him average.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very interesting to see him perform in the big lights.
Well, he had 2 passing touchdowns to Jeremiah Smith.
2 to the freshman,
Yeah.
It kind of makes you debate who's the better freshman, Ron Williams or Jeremiah Smith.
Mm-hmm. Well, don't forget Caleb Downs on the defensive side of the ball, too.
Oh, yeah, sophomore, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, Ohio State had 500 yards. Well, they had 473, but they were close to 500 yards of offense. Tennessee had 256, which isn't, kind of bad compared to Ohio State's. But Ohio State really dominated the rushing game. Tennessee couldn't stop the run. They had 317 yards of the passing game, and Tennessee had 104, which usually when Tennessee's low in the passing ratings, it's not really good because they're usually a big passing team. And then rushing yards, Tennessee actually ran for more rushing yards. They ran for 152. Ohio State ran for 156, which is pretty even. And then Ohio State averaged around 7 yards a play, and Tennessee averaged 3 yards a play.
It's something interesting I found in this game is their star running back, Dylan Sampson, didn't play a whole lot in this game.
No, they put in Bishop.
Yeah, Bishop. Yeah, it sort of made me question what was wrong with Dylan Sampson in that game.
Yeah, I think it was some like upper body injury or some lower body. It was somewhere.
I mean, with the game on the line, who wouldn't want to
go
at least try?
Yeah.
If you can't do it, then
it just depends on
pull yourself out of the game.
Yeah. But no, all those playoff games were very, I would say,
even Clemson and Texas.
Clemson, Texas, yeah.
That was the closest one. I was not expecting that to be close.
I tell you what, Clemson at the very beginning when they scored that opening touchdown, I thought they might maybe do something, but Texas just, I think they have more talent,
More grit.
more. They just have more on.
They ran the ball really well that game.
Yeah. Well, and your guy Wisner ran for a couple of TDs too.
110 and 2 touchdowns. And then Jaden Blue ran for 193.
Yeah.
Or something. 146.
Yeah.
Thank you. 146 and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Obviously, their run game dominated. Ewers didn't have to do much.
Yeah. Well, no. Well, Texas had 494 of total offense, so almost 500 yards like the Ohio State game. Clemson had 412, which, considering Texas's defense this year, is pretty dang good.
Yeah, Clemson's actually a decent team this year.
On defense me too. Yeah. Clemson actually had more passing yards than Texas did. They had 336, which isn't really a surprise because Cade Klubnik's really stepped up as a player, I think, since last year.
Mm-hmm.
And Texas only had 202 yards passing, which, I mean, considering Quinn Ewers' ankle the past couple of weeks, and he hasn't necessarily been a full 100%, not really surprising that they haven't really kind of taken off in the passing game. But your guy, Wisner, helped the Longhorns take control of the running game. They averaged almost 300 yards of running the football, and Clemson only ran for 76 yards, which...
Yeah, that's some good old-fashioned Texas football. Like you see in a 1A, 2A football game. Mm-hmm. All they do is run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. It's like the old woman in the stand saying, "Run the dang ball."
Run the dang ball.
It's that, it's simple.
Yeah.
And I think that's what won.
Yeah.
Simple beat.
Yeah.
Clemson.
Well, simple beat complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of. But yeah, and both teams they averaged around 6 yards a play. So, I mean, it was the closest game of all of them,
which was not expected whatsoever.
No. I thought Clemson would put up a good fight, but I didn't expect it to be a 2-score game at the end of it.
Mm-mm.
So, but yeah, are those all the playoff games?
Yeah, those are all the playoff games that week. And just looking forward to New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. A team I want to watch is Boise State and see how they play against the Penn State Nittany Lions.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I do think Boise State's going to put up a good fight against Pitt. I think they're going to put up a better fight than SMU did,
especially since it's at a neutral site.
Oh yeah, I was about to say, consider if it was in Happy Valley, I think I'd choose Penn State on that. But considering it's in a neutral site game, I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah,
Boise State.
Considering that it's West Coast too, I'd see that more Boise State's fans make it out to that game, considering that it's in Arizona.
Yeah.
And that was Always Talking Ball.
Let's go.